Hey everyone, I'm going to be talking about iron today, my own story with iron deficiency anemia. That'll be real quick. And then we're going to tie in food and nutrition, journaling, and parts. So we got a little story about nutrition, and then we're going to tie in nutrition, iron deficiencies with journaling, with basic food habits, and then inner psychology as well. And I'm going to try to do it fairly quickly. So let's start off with the nutrition. I had iron deficiency anemia back in college. Iron deficiency anemia is where you are not getting enough iron in your blood through food, and so your blood cells, the oxygen can't go into your muscles, into your body. The blood cells can't carry the oxygen. And so that means I was tired, I was fatigued, and I didn't even know it. I just thought I was tired and fatigued. I had no idea. One day I did a routine checkup at a doctor. They did a little prick, and the results came back that I had iron deficiency anemia. So I reflected, how could I do this? Well, I had to stop being vegetarian/vegan. See, back then I was a vegetarian vegan, healthy, clean eater, but I was doing it all the wrong way. I had this like, I can't eat this, I gotta eat this. I gotta get my like tofu sausage, I gotta get my burritos. I was all about burritos back then, beans, spinach. I'd put spinach. I'd come back home exhausted after work and school, kind of lonely, and I'd be eating all this vegetarian food, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. If you look at pictures of me back in the day, I mean, borderline anorexic in some ways. Of course, I would binge on all these sweet things too. So, long story short, whether it's a lack of nutrition or you're just eating like crap, that's kind of what I was doing. My body wasn't getting enough of a certain mineral in this case. Iron isn't a vitamin, but vitamins, minerals. And so, fatigued, tired, and I don't want to say that. It's just because of the iron deficiency. I mean, when you're depressed, anxious, malnourished, you're going to be anxious and fatigued whether or not your iron levels are fine. But I did start eating meat after that. That was a wake-up call. I needed to eat meat. And I did start taking iron supplements. And the iron deficiency anemia did go away in about 2 months. So I just want to highlight this to demonstrate that nutrients deficiencies can relate to being depleted, being fatigued, being tired. They can relate to binging as well, because if you're malnourished, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be more vulnerable to stress, different mood swings, and that binging side of you is going to come in to just make it all go away, just block it all out, and also to give your body the nutrients it needs. So let's now tie this in with food journaling and some basic food foundational habits. And I'll explain the food foundation, these more specifically, in an upcoming video. For now, I just want to talk about how journaling leads to food foundational habits. And then we'll talk about parts in just a second as well, the inner child, inner psychology as well. So food journaling, I'm sure you know, breakfast, lunch, dinner. You already know the basic way to eat. Or you have some idea of healthy eating, right? Like if you just take out all the crap, if you get all the information, you have some idea of healthy eating. Some idea, maybe not a full idea. On one hand, you already know it. You already know something about healthy eating, and you might not be doing it. You might do it some days, but not other days, etc. And it's like, why don't we do it all the time? Why don't we eat healthy all the time, despite kind of knowing how to do it? And I'll tell you more principles tomorrow about what I consider the basics of healthy eating. But the point is that we know one thing, but we don't do it. And that's where journaling comes in. There's something magical about journaling when you study your eating habits, especially your emotional relationship to your eating habits. If you're about to eat candy, you got to write down what you're feeling emotionally. That's tough, but it's going to help really bring enlightenment, clarity to your food relationship. When you journal before you eat, you see your food relationship. You understand a lot more in depth why you sabotage. You understand a lot more too about the basic food foundations. And the beautiful part about this is that food journaling is so simple. I talk about it a lot, and just by this discipline for a few weeks, I'm not saying all the time, I know no one can stick with journaling forever, but for a few weeks where you journal before you eat, and you spend a moment to gather yourself and pause and process what's going on, you write that down for a few weeks. One, you'll make way more healthy eating decisions. Two, you'll understand why you stray from those basic nutritional principles. Again, we'll kind of explain more about those soon. And yeah, so journaling is like this simple guideline that automatically brings you in a very tangible way to those food guidelines. Is different than knowing. It's because knowing doesn't work all the time. This is a different way of getting it in your body. It's a different feel. It's not thinking, it's kind of getting a feel for it. So that's the power of journaling. And the beautiful thing about journaling, in my opinion, is that as you kind of commit to this simple practice, this discipline, it builds this relationship, this mindful relationship with yourself, where you start really being able to look inwards. And this is where we kind of transition from food and nutrition to spirituality. I mean, there's no way around it. We get into the soul. We get into the soul. We get into awareness, energy, spirit, consciousness, etc. See, the emotions you're having around food triggers these strong emotions. They are unconscious parts of you. And when you can start to explore these unconscious parts with conscious awareness, and you start getting into internal family systems, you start seeing how these unconscious parts are all in a system, and you start uncovering this system, right? I know we're getting kind of off the deep end here, but you see how all these unconscious forces are working, and at the same time as you shine light onto these unconscious shadows, you also realize you're the one shining the light. You're the awareness. You are not your thoughts. You are not these unconscious forces. You can see them, and now you can differentiate from them. You have a thinking part, but you're not the thinking. You can see the thinking part, but it's different. Same thing with guilt, shame, all these other unconscious forces that are in your eating habits. When you start studying them, you see them on paper, not just up here, not thinking. You see them in a different way, in the body almost. And then that can really open your eyes up to, what I call eating enlightenment. I'm actually going to be doing a workshop as well about the basic food foundations, especially about how journaling leads to these basic food foundations. And we'll kind of explain these basic food foundations and sort of cut to the chase. Like, hey, if you food journal, you're going to learn this stuff, and we're just going to teach you that stuff. I'll mention it actually in a video upcoming, but then I'm going to be doing a live workshop later this week. It'll be Thursday, probably around noon Pacific time. So there should be a link down below. You can check that out. If you do like this video, go ahead and like it. It really helps the YouTube algorithm sort of get the information into the right hands. And then finally, we do have a 80 plus member community. I think we're at around there, private through Mighty Networks. That is down below. And if you want to join, you can create a profile, apply to join, and so that link is down there as well. Okay, thank you for your time. Have a good day. Namaste.